Hello, everyone. With us here today is Michigan Representative Brenda Carter, Vice Chair of the NCOIL Joint State Federal Relations and International Insurance Issues Committee, and Democratic Vice Chair of the Michigan House Insurance Committee. Representative Carter, thank you so much for joining us for this month's NCOIL one-on-one interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I guess we'll hop right in. I'm interested in how you first got involved in public service.
Well, I grew up in what you would call a challenged community where I felt that it was underserved, but I was always told that I was a bright kid and I could make a difference. So as I grew older, especially after I got out of college, I saw some of the things that I could possibly improve. And one of the things I was really enamored with was education, the education system. I saw that there were disparities there and maybe something I could do to help change that, as well as just the socioeconomic conditions of communities that were impoverished. So I just said, hey, why not? First thing I did was ran for the school board, and that was interesting, but it pretty much landed me where I am today.
Great. Yeah. So like you touched on, you've done advocacy on wide issues from your school improvement team to the Million Women March. How do you think that experience kind of prompted you to run for office one day?
Well, with the school improvement team, I actually was able to take a closer look at some of the disparities in the education system, particularly with communities that was impoverished. But the Million Woman March allowed me the opportunity to talk to people from a different background, even though the majority of women that was in the march were African American, but we came from all over the world. Actually, one of the people who was involved with it was Winnie Mandela. And of course, she's from South Africa. So I had an opportunity to look at the education system, not only in Michigan, but all over the continental US, in Japan, and South Africa. So
So do you think
it allowed me to have a broad perspective on a subject that I wanted to do something about.
Great. So do you think that, global perspective, as you mentioned, I know you got launched onto a speaking tour after the Million Women March. Do you think you kind of were able to bring that back and kind of you use that when you're working with your constituents and crafting legislation?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things in my district, House District 29, we go from very rich to very poor with white, Black, Republican, Democrat, all of these different variations of human existence. And what I learned from studying in Japan, studying in Africa, actually going over in the Caribbean and actually being involved in their school systems, that I was able to piece all of that together and say, yes, I can see the commonality in all strands. And it works. It works, even in the legislature.
So it sounds like you definitely got some wide-ranging perspective on all these issues you were working in. So now that you're in the legislature, what issues do you work mostly in?
I would really want to say everything, because it's like a candy store. You go in there, you say, oh my God, I can work on family, children, and seniors. I can work on education, of course, all of these disparities. But then it's like, what is this thing they call insurance? I had, no, seriously, when I first got in the legislature, why did you guys put me on insurance? I know nothing about insurance. But because of that inquisitive mind I feel I have, I wanted to learn more. And I learned that it was more to insurance than auto no fault or Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance. I mean, there was property insurance, pet insurance, life insurance, just all of these different variations of insurance. So yeah, it just became exciting. And the issues that I work on the most are, once again, dealing in the disparities in education, work on issues that involve families, children, and seniors. That's the second committee that I'm on. But I've been spending an incredible amount of time lately working on insurance-related issues.
Definitely sounds like you're deep in the insurance world in the legislature. So I know that different states handle health insurance related issues differently in the sense that sometimes they're part of the general insurance committee and sometimes they have their own separate committee or subcommittee. How is that dealt with in Michigan?
Well, we feel, our insurance committee, we do feel that health insurance, because they're saying health and the word insurance should come through the insurance committee, but it doesn't. It goes through health policy. And lately, in fact, my committee hasn't met in over a year because of our auto no fault issues. But lately, some of the insurance related issues have found their way back to the insurance committee, which makes me extremely happy because it's important. It's health insurance.
Exactly. Great. Okay. So you seem very deeply involved in policy, but you're also a mother of five. How do you balance that work-life balance?
My kids they think I'm nuts. I'd say, Mom, you're always gone. You're speaking here, you're doing this. I mean, Mom, Mom, even my husband, but the whole thing of it is they know that it's something that I'm doing to change the lives of others. And I believe that my children are learning from what I'm doing. And one day they'll pattern themselves, they'll model themselves. I think they're proud of me. I've heard them say many times they're proud. So, yeah, I'm there when I can be. I remember birthdays and things like that, but then Mom's gone.
Well, it seems like they have a lot to be proud of, so that's great.
Thank you.
So you're also very involved in NCOIL. So I want to know how you first heard about the organization and how you got involved.
NCOIL, yeah. My first term in office, I was put on the insurance committee, as I had mentioned earlier, and not having a clue why. Why did you put me on this? Okay, duh. But my predecessor, Robert Wittenberg, asked me, did I want to go to this convention, this called NCOIL? Sure, why not? Boy, when I did that, the bug bit me. It was just so fascinating. I mean, they were saying at that time, you should only sign up for 2 committees, and I signed up for everything. I just wanted to learn. And that passion hasn't left me. In fact, now that I'm the Democratic Vice Chair of the Insurance Committee for this state of Michigan, I encourage everyone to go. And this last NCOIL convention we had, 6 of the 7 people on my side attended NCOIL, and they got bit.
That's great. Yeah, we always love to see a strong Michigan delegation come out to the meetings. So how would you describe your overall experience with the organization and attending meetings and working on the model legislation?
I just think it's incredible, okay, personally, because it's what I would want our legislature to be like in Michigan. It's bipartisan. No one comes in there and says, I'm a Democrat, I'm an independent, I'm a Republican. No, we're all working for the same thing. We're looking at insurance related issues and we're trying to come up with a solution. Very similar to a program that they have here in Michigan called the Michigan Political Leadership Program. I was selected for that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I learned how to work across the aisle, because we had to do this for a year. They stuck us in a room with a Republican. We were Democrats. They stuck the Republicans in the room with Democrats. And we actually had to camp out the whole entire weekend with somebody from a different party. And it was a learning experience because my first time that I did it, I looked at my roommate and said, man, what's wrong with you? And she said the same thing. It's not wrong with you. And I think I learned that. And if there's anything I would want NCOIL to do other than what they're doing, is maybe have a little camp out one time where you actually had to room with somebody of a different party so you could just experience somebody other than your world.
That's great. Are you still involved in that organization?
It's called the Michigan Political Leadership Program, MPLP.
Sounds great. Are you still involved?
Absolutely. They turn out 12 Republicans and 12 Democrats every single year, and they have us buck out with each other for one weekend every month. And it's like, wow, about time you're done with that, you really know that you can reach across that aisle and say, hey, let's get this auto no fault done.
Exactly. So in your view, what would you say the benefits are for new members to join NCOIL and get involved?
The same thing I told my committee when they started off. When I became the Democratic chair, I started immediately encouraging, come on, you guys, you got to go to NCOIL. You need to learn that there's more to life than auto no fault. And then it's also that bipartisanship. I just think of the day when Jason Rapert from Arkansas, I think he's from Arkansas. He's a Republican. Okay. But he nominated me for the executive committee. And he said it was the reason he did that was because when he first started off with NCOIL, a Democrat nominated him for the executive committee, and he went on to become president of NCOIL. So what I would encourage new members to look at is that there is opportunities to do well in this industry for everyone, and you're not held back because of your political affiliation.
That's great. So do you have any favorite model laws or issues you've worked on throughout your time in NCOIL?
Well, yeah, one of them that I'm still currently working on, and I have to admit I'm not a subject matter expert, but I'm learning, and that's captives, insurance captives. And once again, this is one Jason did. He moved forward, and what it did was it kind of like gave me exposure of how people can self-insure themselves. And in Michigan, I know that our Department of Insurance Financial Services, DIFS, we're looking at captives. So what this did for me was give me the lead on it to say, yeah, let's look at this and provide this type of service for people in Michigan. So that would have been my favorite one right there. And then of course, the resolution that we did honoring Ukraine really touched my heart. We did that the last NCOIL.
Yeah, that was definitely a great resolution.
Ken Cooley, my friend, Assemblyman Ken Cooley, yes. See, once again, I mean, I'm very close to someone that lives in California. NCOIL.
Yeah, that's great. So do you feel like with all these organizations you've been involved in that you've really been able to connect with a lot of legislators from around the country, like you mentioned?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, if it hadn't been for NCOIL, I probably would have never met Jason. I never probably would have met Ken. You're just going across the board. And then when we go to NCOIL now, it's like, hey, everybody, hi, everybody. You got somebody to talk to, somebody that you could sit back and actually dig deep in the issues that affect your state. And you possibly could find model legislation that you can bring back to your state to have implemented. So I just feel it's invaluable. And anybody, if you were to do this interview with anybody in the Michigan legislature, they would probably say Brenda Carter is NCOIL's biggest cheerleader.
Well, we're definitely happy to have you involved. So it seems like, there's a lot of great interaction with other legislators and stuff like that. But what do you think some benefits are for people in the industry to attend NCOIL meetings?
What they can learn, say, I would think, like NAIC or some of the other partnering organizations with NCOIL, they can learn what the voices are from the constituents. See, each one of us represent a group of constituents, and our constituents speak to us about what they feel is important to them as far as insurance is concerned. So as these partnering organizations come to NCOIL, they get an opportunity to hear from the legislators what their constituents are saying. So I think that's invaluable.
So do you have a lot of constituents who reach out to you about insurance-related issues?
Michigan and auto no fault, it keeps me up at night, to be honest with you. We passed some, what I feel was very important legislation that lowered the cost of auto no fault by giving a graduated scale for people to buy insurance at different levels. But there was some little unintended consequences that wasn't addressed when we passed this legislation. And that has been the subject of a lot of people in Michigan. Please fix this, fix this. So what I'd like to say about that is, yeah, my constituents they reach out to me, but hopefully we can, with this bipartisanship that I'm hoping to build, or we're hoping to build, it's not just me, that we could come to an amicable solution with ANF, we call it ANF, where it would benefit the insurance industry and the provider industry. So yeah, that's our biggest flood right now.
So are you sensing less and less partisanship in Michigan, or a little bit more? How do you think that divide's going?
It's still pretty partisan, I have to admit. It really is. And I think that's because of the political climate that we've experienced in the last 3-4 years. But there are people on both sides of the aisle who really want to work together. And that's why I always say when I'm interviewed by someone and they ask me about one of these contentious issues, that I'm cautiously optimistic, because not everyone on the other side of the aisle is far right, and not everybody on my side of the aisle is far left. There is somewhere in that bell curve where you can find people who really want to work together, and that's what I'd be looking for. So yeah.
Okay. So naturally, we've discussed, why you love NCOIL. I think it's a great organization, but of course, there's always things that we can do to improve. What steps do you think you want to see going forward, NCOIL, to take to continue to improve?
At this point, and I'm being really totally honest what I'm about to say here, see too many things that I would want to see change. Like I said, when you can take someone who's never really had exposure to the industry at all and pique their interest to a point where they really want to run with it, then I think that is the greatest value for any legislator that ends up in insurance or financial services. And of course, financial literacy is a big subject in the education world right now, providing financial literacy for underserved communities. Once again, the experiences that I've learned in NCOIL has helped me in my community, which is Pontiac. I can go talk to people and say, yes, these are things that I've learned from in the last 3 years about how insurance works. Yeah, it's kind of wild when you're in a conversation and all of a sudden someone asks you about, well, I just got this EOB and I don't understand this here and that there. And all of a sudden you start talking like you have some intelligence about the subject. That is extremely valuable. So at this point, I really haven't found anything that I would criticize.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move into our lightning round. These are the real hard-hitting questions. What is your favorite all-time movie?
Blazing Saddles.
Great choice. Great choice. Okay, favorite all-time book or musical artist?
I just want to say, I don't know. I think about $5 in a pork chop sandwich because it talks about the political strata and how various communities are pretty much deceived. Okay, it's a great book. If you ever get a chance to read it, read it. Musical artist Sade.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll definitely have to read that book. Sounds very interesting. Favorite all-time TV show?
Green Acres. Don't ask. Arnold was truly the most intelligent person on the show.
Interesting.
You probably don't know who Arnold is.
And then last one is 3 dinner party guests, living or dead.
Oh, wow. That's a hard one. Roberta Stanley, living. Angela Davis, living. Winnie Mandela, dead.
Sounds like that would be some interesting conversation for sure.
Oh, all 3 of these women were and are incredible influence on my life.
That's awesome. Great. All right. Well, so this wraps up this month's NCOIL one-on-one interview with Representative Brenda Carter. Representative Carter, thank you so much for taking the time.
Once again, thank you so much for having me, and make sure you look up and see who Arnold is on Green Acres.
Will do. Be my next move.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.